It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather's senior meteorologist, Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Hello there, South Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm senior meteorologist Wesley Williams. Perspirating pumpkins? We'll see if maybe a few beads of moisture might develop on those pumpkins sitting out at the pumpkin patches because the humidity is expected to increase as we go to the next few days. Speaking of pumpkin patch, I've got pumpkins on the mind this morning because Tina sent this picture into the WLOX weather app showing a picture-perfect pumpkin patch sunset yesterday in the Ocean Springs area. So, you know, it's basically October in a nutshell. We've got beautiful sunrises and sunsets, no rain, it's a dry sky, and of course, pumpkins as far as the eye can see. Well, as you take a look outside this morning, it was a gorgeous start to the day in Gulfport. We had that sunrise right at 7 a.m. basically, just a moment before 7 a.m. And it's going to be a beautiful day. What you are looking at right here is an image I captured myself when I took a stroll on the Biloxi Beach boardwalk yesterday morning. And it was a really terrific Tuesday morning for a walk anywhere outdoors in South Mississippi. I think you're going to have it again this morning. I will give you some pointers though. You see how bright that sunlight was out there. Anytime you're in the shade, it's really going to help. Because even though in the morning we do have it kind of comfortably cool with 60s, we're not going to break a sweat this morning. The later you wait outside, the more that temperature is going to increase. We're looking at temperatures in the pretty nice 70s later this morning, but you know, upper 70s in full-on morning sun. If you're moving around, taking a walk, or you're working outside in the yard or getting some errands done, you might already begin to almost break a sweat. Then you go to the afternoon, you're definitely going to do that. If you are not in the shade, you will be sweating this afternoon. Despite the lower humidity for some of us, it is going to be a pretty warm afternoon. You're looking at temperatures in the middle and upper 80s, and look at this. Some of the numbers might come close to 90. You can see that around 2 or 3 p.m. Maybe somewhere like Wiggins, a degree or so away from 90 in the middle of October. So this is unusually warm. Our normal highs are in the lower 80s. So to see these middle and upper 80s, it's kind of hot-tober for you in the afternoon, even though the morning is, you know, a typical fall feel. Now I will say, let me rewind this. I know we focused on the numbers, but I want you to focus on the little particles, and we'll make this bigger so you can see them on the screen. So this morning, those little wind particles, they're moving from the northeast to the southwest. So we're getting a nice dry wind from the northeast this morning, keeping the humidity low. By the middle of the day, the winds are mainly from the east, which is still a generally dry direction for us to get winds from. But notice by the beaches, we're almost starting to see the southeast, from the southeast, right? And that is expected to increase this afternoon. So as you see, look how much more we get this wind straight from the Gulf, straight from the southeast along our beaches. And what that's going to do is actually help to limit the warmth because you're getting the wind off the relatively cooler water. So areas that are near or south of I-10, you might actually not get as warm this afternoon as other places farther away from the water like Wiggins, because you see up there the winds are still more so from the east, right? They actually don't get more that southeast wind like folks along the beaches will get. So that is why you get that separation, and it's basically called a sea breeze front. Any day you get the sea breeze to come in from the Gulf, it helps to keep the beach temperatures from getting as hot as the inland temperatures. So that's kind of your main story here going into your Wednesday. The beach temperatures, middle 80s, but the temperatures for places closer to Stone County, Pearl River County, George County, and maybe even northern portions of Jackson, Harrison, and Hancock counties, you might get into the hotter upper 80s at times this afternoon. And by the way, Tonight, we will see it cool again, but I don't think we're going to get as many 50s. Last few mornings, we've seen plenty of 50s basically everywhere. Monday was our coolest morning, and now we're Wednesday morning. We still had some 50s this morning, but tomorrow morning, places by the beaches, you might not get any 50s at all tomorrow morning. And places that are inland, maybe you go to like 60, maybe 59, maybe 58 in a couple of spots, but there won't be nearly as many 50s. It's a sign that things are changing. And the change comes in the form of humidity. And that's the point of this video, to track the increasing humidity and show what effects it could have on our heat index as we go into the next several days. Of course, we mentioned in the last video or so the chance for weekend showers, and we'll continue to give you an update on that too. But let's focus on the humidity here. So remember, temperature is separate from humidity, and the temperatures are going to stay pretty steady here. We're steadily in the middle and upper 80s on Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon for the highs. But as the humidity increases, while it might not affect our daytime temperatures, it will affect our overnight or early morning temperatures. So this morning Wednesday, we did have some 50s and 60s, but tomorrow morning, Thursday, we'll see fewer 50s, mainly only lower 60s. And by Friday morning, we probably won't see any 50s at all. We'll just be in the lower and middle 60s. And that's because of the humidity. The humidity, when it increases, it makes it harder to cool off overnight as those dew points go up. So here's today. This afternoon, most of our numbers are in the pleasant 50s. So for many of us on Wednesday, there is still a little bit of that crisp fall feel in the air. Although along the coast, it might already start to get a little bit humid, especially when you get that Gulf breeze coming in right by the beaches. All right, let's fast forward to tomorrow. Now we hardly have any 50s on this map, so we are noticing it's gonna feel a little bit more humid heading into your Thursday. And then for Friday, there's no 50s at all. In fact, there's already some 70s showing up, so it will be noticeably muggier Friday, and that trend is likely going to continue to the weekend. All right, so now that I've told you what the temperature forecast will be, you got those numbers. I've also told you what the dew point forecast will be. You've got those numbers. Let's work on the heat index. So I want to get a blank heat index chart. This one's not my blank one. Let's get a blank one. All right, so we've got a blank heat index chart because we're going to go ahead and calculate the heat index for the next 3 days. And it's really easy because once you get the temperatures and you get the dew points, then you know how to calculate heat index using this chart. It's a specific formula and it doesn't change. It's science. So let's take a look. As we have today's temperatures, I told you what those would be, right? Middle 80s. So let's see if I can circle that. There we go. A very crude circling, but that's what our temperatures are going to be today and tomorrow and Friday. But the dew points are going to change, right? So today's dew points are going to be what? In the 50s. So that doesn't even register on the heat index chart. And that means our heat index is basically going to be the exact same thing as the temperature. You see, you got your dew points on the side over here. You got your temperatures up top right there. And our temperature is middle 80s, but our dew points today are, again, mainly 50s. So you can't even really use the heat index chart for a day like today because there's not enough humidity to make the temperature feel hotter than it actually is. You don't really get a heat index on a day like today. But tomorrow we showed you the heat index numbers are creeping into the lower 60s. So tomorrow our middle 80s might feel like the upper 80s. Let's see, the worst case scenario, if we've got lower 60s for dew points tomorrow, you know, that would be somewhere like this. Our worst case scenario would be mid to upper 80s for heat index. But we showed you Friday, some of the dew points could approach 70. So that puts us way down here. So at that point, you can see the heat index numbers could be in the lower 90s at the worst case scenario there. So on Friday, if we got a dew point of 70, but we got a temperature in the middle and upper 80s, yeah, it might feel like it's 91 degrees. That's not dangerous. It's not enough to trigger a heat index or a heat advisory. You know, October heat hits different than August heat. Back in August, we had temperatures in the upper 90s. We had dew points in the lower and middle 70s. So we had a heat index of like 112 back in August. But we don't have those kinds of temperatures anymore. Our temperatures are down here in the middle 80s in October, and our humidity is barely getting above 70. So again, that'll be, I'll circle that if I can. A bit of a crude circle there. And we'll go ahead and circle Friday's dew point of 70. So that's kind of your worst case scenario for heat index. It will feel like it's in the 90s. And by the way, friendly reminder that the heat index, when you calculate it, it is only valid for locations in the shade. So if you are in a location in the shade on Friday afternoon, it will feel like it's 91. But if you're in the sun, this time of year, you can add up to about 10 degrees to the heat index to get the apparent temperature in the sun. So it might feel like it's 99, 100, or 101 if you are standing in direct sunlight on Friday afternoon. And so that's why I told you earlier, it makes so much of a difference, folks, to find a nice, comfortable spot in the shade to lounge when you have these types of conditions. Now, fortunately, while, yes, the humidity is going to increase, as we go from today's pleasantly dry stuff to Friday's muggier stuff. It stays muggy on Saturday, it stays muggy on Sunday, but then we get a cool front to come in. And what that cool front will do is help to dry the air out so that once we get to next week, it will return to the pleasant and crisp feel that we've been enjoying. But for at least a few days, we are going to take a break from the crispness and get into a bit of a muggier feel. Now, we've been mentioning in all of our updates that there are going to be some rain chances associated with that cool front. Right now, the latest information is showing a 30% chance on Saturday, and I would call it about a 40 to 50% chance on Saturday night, as well as a 40 to 50% chance on Sunday. Those numbers are still being fine-tuned as we monitor the speed of the front. While this is not the full focus of this video, I don't mind taking a brief detour and just showing you the futurecast for the front, which has not really changed from yesterday. So there's a look at the futurecast for the front, reminding you, if you didn't know this before, we mentioned this yesterday, there's a risk of severe weather in North Mississippi on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening in this yellow zone. So North Mississippi could find some severe thunderstorms. Maybe they're producing tornadoes. Maybe they're producing damaging winds over 60 miles per hour. Maybe they're producing hail bigger than a quarter, which could cause damage. All of those things at this point in time are on the table for northern Mississippi, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. But the time of day in the afternoon and the evening is when you've got plenty of daytime heating, and severe weather is sometimes fueled by, at least let me say that again, it is partially fueled by that daytime heat that creates energy that the storms feed off of to grow stronger. So during that time of day, any storms that are out there in North Mississippi, that's where the ingredients are going to come together. It's not just about the daytime heating. There's a number of factors. You do have an upper system that's creating lift. And so with that lift, that's helping to help those thunderstorms grow taller. You also have the twistiness of the wind. We call that wind shear. At the lower levels, there's winds that are going to be coming in from the south, but then a little bit aloft, you've got winds that are going to be coming in from the southwest. And so there's kind of a change in direction with wind, with height, with respect to height. So that wind shear could allow for thunderstorms to begin rotating in northern Mississippi at Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. But here's the key. It's the timing. Once you go from Saturday afternoon down to Saturday night, you lose the daytime heating. And when you go from Saturday night to Sunday morning, you really don't have much heating energy to fuel the thunderstorms. So I'm thinking that even though there might be some severe or strong storms in the middle of Mississippi Saturday night, when those try to come down toward the coast, they, I think, will lose some of their punch. They'll lose some of their energy. And maybe we'll just get some scattered showers and storms in South Mississippi overnight into Sunday morning as the severe risk might weaken. And notice this, by Sunday morning, this model a little bit faster than yesterday's. It shows the bulk of the rain basically already moving out of our Mississippi coast. So if this timing is accurate, you might not have much rain during the day on Sunday. It might happen mostly before the sun comes up on Sunday. Take a look at this as we go to 4 in the afternoon. We are bone dry on the Mississippi, wrong tool. We're bone dry on the Mississippi coast with no rain left. All of the rain is well off to our west over portions of Georgia, over portions of Florida. And so it could be a quick turnaround from some early morning rain Sunday to some drier, maybe sunnier weather as we go to Sunday afternoon. So the whole weekend not a washout. In fact, a lot of this rain might happen overnight when many of us are in bed asleep, meaning I would definitely not cancel any outdoor plans just yet, because if this time's just right, it might not bother any outdoor plans for this weekend. And by the way, if you check your calendar, this is actually the second to last weekend before Halloween. So I was mentioning this morning on GMM when I was talking with Bill and Brandy, that because Halloween falls on a Friday this year, that means November 1st will be a Saturday. So our Halloween weekend is actually going to be long before Halloween. So that might be why you're seeing some of these events happening earlier than you might expect them to. I think I can pull up a calendar. So there you go. So see, there's Halloween on the 31st. You know, this chart shows the temperatures of each day, but I'm really just using this as a calendar right now. And you can see Friday, October 31st. So that will be Saturday, November 1st. And a lot of times, once the clock strikes midnight on Halloween night, that's it for spooky season. And a lot of people usually just head on into November and into Thanksgiving. So usually you're not going to see a lot of Halloween events happening the day after Halloween. So that means your Halloween weekend comes way up here into Saturday, October 25th and Sunday, October 26th, which is not this weekend, but it's right there next weekend. Just only one weekend separates us from the big Halloween one, where a lot of the parties, weekend events, weekend festivities might be going on. And then of course you got your trick-or-treating on actual Halloween Friday. Hopefully we got good weather for then. It's a little too early to tell, but there are signs that maybe it might not be that hot, as the temperatures toward the end of October are generally trending down. They're not trending up, they are trending down. So our afternoons not going closer to 90. They're, if anything, going further away from 90. So that might be a good sign that if you are planning a warm Halloween costume, that you might not have to worry about sweating it out. But that's, one thing that we keep an eye on. Again, that 25th there, that is your Saturday, October 25th. That is the first Saturday of the Halloween weekend, if you will, and it looks like the high temperature might only be 79. So that's good news if you have any Halloween weekend, 25th, 26th plans, as that could be some good weather for any warmer costumes. But of course, we got many days from now till then to check in on the long-range forecast for Halloween weekend, which comes a week before Halloween, and then actual Halloween Friday. Well, that'll do it for this edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been City Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Prepare for perspirating pumpkins as we see an increase in mugginess over the next several days.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.